Today we'll be looking at 4 UFO clips and a few pictures on analyzing today's UFO clips. Episode 21. Our first 2 clips are moon related, so let's watch the first one and then discuss. This clip is supposed to be leaked footage from one of the Apollo missions, and yes, I know it's blurry and vague, and yes, it could be fake. But for the purpose of this video, we're going to analyze it anyway, and see if we can find anything interesting. The first thing we notice is what appears to be stars in the distance that come in and out of focus. Then the camera moves around, and we get to see a few hills and a supposed crater, and along the rim of this crater, there seems to be an object that looks very much like your typical saucer-shaped craft. When we pause the video, we can better see the object, and if we adjust the levels of the frames a bit, we can see some of the detail a little bit better. For one, the object doesn't seem to be part of its environment. It seems to be a lighter color and raised above the ground, as if maybe it's standing on legs or just on its belly. You can also see that it casts a shadow off to the left side towards the bottom of the object, and that the top appears to be dome-shaped and then flattens out to be what appears to be a disc along its edges. One seemingly interesting artifact that I found in this clip are these 2 spots right here. There's definitely something there. 2 things. And for a moment, I let my UFO mind fly free, and I thought that maybe these could be 2 of the pilots standing outside of the ship. And well, maybe. But if we zoom out, we can find that there are several types of these artifacts that exist all throughout the scene, as seen over in this area, which leads me to believe that these 2 spots over here are probably some sort of camera artifacts, or maybe some natural objects that seem to cast this kind of effect. But now, let my UFO mind take over again, and think back to a clip that many of us have heard before. The supposed intercepted broadcast between NASA and one of the Apollo missions. Here, let's take a listen.
What is it? We have some explanation for that. We have none. Don't worry. Continue your program. Oh boy, it's really something super fantastic here. You couldn't ever imagine this. Roger. We know about that. Could you go the other way? Go back the other way. Well, that's kind of rich. Pretty spectacular. God, what is that there? That's Apollo. What the hell is that? Don't tango. There's kind of light there now. Roger, we got it. We marked it. Lose communication. Bravo Tango. Select Jezebel. Yeah. But this is unbelievable. Recorder off. Bravo Tango.
So this is where the topic of UFOs becomes pretty fun to me, linking together stories we've heard over the years. Could these 2 clips be related? Or is maybe everything just fabricated? Let me know in the comments down below. Next, we'll be looking at another clip, also of the moon. Let's take a look first and then discuss. Now, what do y'all think of that? I really like these type of clips because the footage seems to be consistent all throughout. The camera starts from the point of view of anybody standing on Earth. Then as they zoom in, everything stays consistent, being that all the objects stay to scale as they're zooming in. And what I find most interesting is that whatever is floating in the footage above the moon also exhibits the same atmospheric distortion that the moon usually has through a telescope. The waviness you see is caused by the movement of the air in our atmosphere distorting the light as it passes through it. So presumably, whatever is in the video floating above the moon is past our atmosphere. So now let's concentrate on the objects themselves. Let's go ahead and zoom in. Now again, sure, our field of view is distorted by the atmosphere, but what do we see here? Are these tic-tac shaped objects? Are they cylinders? Or are they discs? What bothers me about this clip, however, is that whatever is moving around up there, if they really are interacting with the moon, these objects have to be massive. These aren't going to be your typical 20 to 50 feet in diameter, typical flying saucers. These would have to be hundreds of feet in size. So, okay, what if these objects aren't interacting with the moon? What if these are just moving around at a very high altitude, here in our actual atmosphere and not in space? Then what are they? Balloons? If these are high altitude balloons, then the jet stream currents would be blowing these things quickly through the sky. And in this clip, 2 of them remain stationary while 1 seems to move away from the other 2. If this clip isn't fake, meaning that it's not made in some sort of special effects program, then there's a lot of questions to be asked to what these things really are. I find this very, very interesting. Let's move on. Next is a clip that very well could be fabricated, but it's still extremely interesting. Let's take a look. Now, this clip starts with the NASA logo, and that's where I already start rolling my eyes, because that's a really easy way for somebody to say that this is a very official clip, and you should pay attention. But then what comes next is really what's interesting to me, and let me tell you why. To begin with, this clip really does appear to be taken from space. I mean, I'm sure there's lots of satellites up there, I presume, that we don't know about, with cameras that are looking down at Earth. And with this one in particular, they seem to be looking for something and apparently find it flying at a very high rate of speed. And as they begin to follow what it is they've found, you can see a lot of detail of the Earth. Okay, so let's take a step back and explain to you why I really like this. Let's say I wanted to make this clip. I would need a very, very high resolution image of Earth. One where I could get details of the land masses, like this one. Now I'm ready to make my UFO clip, right? Okay, here's the problem. Look at how clear my photo looks. Then compare it to the one in the scene of the video. The scene in the video starts off blurry. The one in my software starts off clear. Now the problem is that when we zoom into my clean photo, the image actually becomes pixelated and basically becomes out of focus. Here, take a look. Our clean picture starts to become a blocky mess. When we compare it to the clip, the image starts blurry, and then as they zoom in, they actually go into focus, finding the outlines of the land masses or ice, and even some things that we couldn't see before they zoomed in, like the glaciers that come into view, and some of the watermarks. This leads me to believe that this is actual footage of a camera from space zooming into a particular part of the Earth. So another reason that this is interesting to me is that they actually follow something. It would be much easier to fake something with satellite footage like this one, when all you'd have to do is make some mysterious object fly across the scene and say, "Did you see that? Something just flew past." But in this video, it's really obvious that they zoom into something and then follow it. So what are they zooming into? Apparently these long rectangular objects. And if we zoom in here and play with some of the levels, we can see some detail in these things. Totally not aerodynamic, no thrusters behind it, no wings. Completely incredible to think these things could fly. So what are they, right? I have to say, in my opinion, if this is fake, they had to make it with some sophisticated motion picture software, maybe for a TV show or a movie. And if it's not that, then we have some very, very interesting video of a couple of very incredible objects. Let's move on. Now I just quickly wanted to show you guys these photos that have said to be taken of a very similar disc-shaped object over Wisconsin from 2 different witnesses on 2 different dates in 2 different cities. The one from 2003 seems to be missing the smaller lights, but it also seems to be higher up. Let's get close-up shots of these pics. Notice that the red light is in a single location on the one from 2003. I think the one from 2007 might also have the same singular location red light source as well. It's pictures like these that I really hope are not fake. Maybe some hunters took these pics on one of their expeditions, and these may very well be real. Think of the implications. Think of how they must have felt and what they must have thought as these things flew above them. I've never seen anything like this with my own eyes, but if I ever would, it would make my entire year, and it would be that story I would tell for the rest of my life. Lastly, this clip. Not exactly UFO discs here, but it's certainly a weird one. Let's take a look.
What the fuck? Să-ți faci șuroș.
Să te mai să umple, dar și vedea că se aprinde ceva, dacă se...
Așa, mă, vezi? Dar e din cer, nu e de jos.
Da, e din cer.
E de trimis de acum. What the fuck?
Eu nu cred că e un impitul.
Păi nici eu nu cred că stă pe loc. O fi un meteorit ceva?
This is one of those WTF clips. What in all heavens could be causing that? It looks like the sun's running out of batteries or something. But seriously, is the light source coming from the ground or above the clouds? Are these flares or missile testing? I don't think flares burn like this. And if they're missiles exploding, they're exploding with no sound and in the same space continuously in different colors sometimes. Is this totally caused by some sort of natural weather phenomena? I've never seen it. To me, this really looks like it's coming from one source. But what do y'all think? Have y'all seen anything like this? For that matter, have y'all seen any of the objects in any of these videos? Tell us in the comments down below. Please like and subscribe. Until next time, this is Jesse. Let's keep our eyes open for new and exciting clips because we love the UFOs. Till next time.